Hi, this is a screencast for the techTalks on console that we just presented. So this would be a brief demonstration on all the properties and configurations that we just described for console. So as I mentioned, console is basically a client discovery tool. So it is responsible for discovering the services offered by various servers in the cluster, as well as it is capable of performing different health checks for each node as well as for each application running inside the server. So to start, I'll briefly describe what the topology is. So I am using three nodes here. These three nodes form a cluster. So two nodes are acting as a server, and the server basically has a web server, a JSON web server running inside it. So server 1 and server 2 have this web server, and the client is basically a PHP client which will request for the web server file. So first I'll just display what the web server looks like. So this is our web server here. A couple of things that we can observe is, first of all, the bind address. So the bind address is actually the private IP address on which this node is running. So it is 10.0.0.5. Another thing is we have server is equal to true. So what it basically says is that this node in the cluster is acting as a server and not as a client. And bootstrap is equal to false means that this is not the cluster leader. So second thing what I would like to display is how the cluster information is displayed. So for that I'll use console members. So we can see we have three nodes here, two servers and one client, and these are the IP addresses and port numbers associated with each of them. Another verbose or elaborate way of displaying information about clients and servers is using a Python tool. So I'll just briefly show that. So as you can see, it basically displays the same information but in a slightly elaborate manner, and uh, in the form of a key value pair. So again we have the IP addresses here for each of the nodes. The next thing I'll talk about is how console can provide load balancing if we have multiple instances of the same application running. So here, as we just saw the web server, JSON web server, we have a similar web server running on server 1 as well. So first of all, we have a check to see what all the services are there. So as you can see, the service running is web server, and the two servers have two different instances of the web server. We have named them red server and blue server. Uh, Now we'll demonstrate how we can achieve load balancing. So as you can see, I called the dig command twice here. So for the first time it returned the IP address 10.0.0.5 as the primary IP address, and in the very next time when I called it, it returned 10.0.0.4 as the primary IP address. So what is basically happening here is console uses gossip messages to keep track of all the servers. So uh, as the as both the servers are up, it can detect that services are up and running, and it conducts a load balancing among them. The next thing I'll talk about is how it handles node failures and node recovery. So for that, what we'll do is uh, just switch off or turn off the console service. So Before I disable the console service, let us see the current health status so that we would have a better idea. So for displaying the health status of the node, we have a command. So that we can see that the checks are returned for each node. If I pick any one node here, it has a column of checks, and we can see that the status is passing and the output is agent alive and reachable. So this is the health check feature that console provides. Now I'll kill the console process in any one of the servers, the current server. So we can see that it returned an exit status. And now if I execute the previous command console.members, we would see that this server indicates failure. Oh, I'll try on one of the clients. Yes, so we can see here that the server that was just switched off, it could not connect to console because we have killed that process. And when we tried on the client, we can see that this server is in a failed status because it is no longer exchanging messages using the gossip protocol. So this is how console handles node failures, and it uses these messages to redirect all the application traffic to the relevant server which is active. So this was a brief demonstration of how load balancing and health checking is implemented in console. Thank you.